And welcome back to All Day Live. I'm Amy Hawker. Glad that you're with us. We have a couple of live events at the Capitol we are following. One is the Senate Jobs and Economic Development Committee hearing about artificial intelligence. But we're going to take you to a Senate Education Committee where they're talking about whether or not the state should require students to learn cursive in elementary school. Let's listen in.
And the Declaration of Independence. There's some, in terms of fun facts, there's some discussion about what was actually sent to King George. Was he sent the document with the names on it? Because we know that the names, even though they were known, they were anonymous at the time, and they were not added to the document until sometime in August. And John Hancock, indeed, was the very first one to sign it. It was published for the first time and printed, because there was differences between the printed and the cursive versions, although the cursive version was first, but the printed version almost happened at the same time. But it was published in full. Guess where? In the London newspaper. The whole thing in the London newspaper that very same time. It was written by Thomas Jefferson, and a supporter of the Enlightenment. The ideas for democracy and the social contract came from John Locke and Tom Paine, and Adams and Franklin. The person perhaps with the best cursive handwriting, however, was George Washington. And why did people write then in cursive? Because they had the printing press. And it was a mark of an educated person that they knew how to write in cursive. They knew that their writing was going to be taken seriously. And it was also a mark then of the educated and the aristocrats in any society. John Locke's contribution to both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution was from his two treatises on government, notably the social contract. It was Washington and Franklin and Jefferson were not Christians; they were deists, and and that reflected also the way in which our country was originally established. John Adams, who also is a signer, influenced the documents with words that referred to our Creator, that Jefferson and Franklin did not think was necessary, but John Adams, coming out of the tradition of New England, insisted on them, and that, to my mind, that's why it becomes a more poetic document, quite frankly. During the time of the Declaration of Independence, the cursive style, and there are a number of cursive styles. It started back in Egypt, millennials ago, thousands of years ago. The one that is used here, it's called copperplate, and it has elegant loops and circles and so forth. And it was first written in cursive by a man named John Maclack. But that first printed edition came on July 4th as well. Why did cursive fall out of favor? For one thing, the invention, modern technology, which some of us still today don't care for, but modern technology in the invention of the printing press diminished diminished cursive as a means of everyday kind of communication by educated people. They too turned to the printed word, and a man named Dunlap was did the first printing itself on July 4th. 200 of those copies were done and distributed through the colonies. Only 26 of those copies are known to have survived. It wasn't until August 2nd of 1776 that the names on the document of the Declaration of Independence were published, and indeed John Hancock was number one. Cursive remained the most, as I mentioned, most sophisticated documentation, and is so today, usually used by folks signing their name. We now use electronic signatures, but most of those electronic signatures are also choose a cursive style rather than a printed style. But cursive was more important in the education of children for decades because it taught hand-eye coordination, and certainly it's still taught to enhance the cognitive practice and of children with ADHD and with dyslexia. It is the most efficient way of writing with your hand because, as you know, if you ever studied it, all the letters are connected, and so it's easier to go like this than it is to go like that. It's faster. It's much faster. It's much faster to use. We had it up until, I believe it was 2010, don't have that date right in front of me, when there was backing away from the Common Core curriculum as we embraced typewriting, keyboarding, and so forth to be able to communicate. Typing is certainly faster, but it's not faster when you're using your hand. So cursive is efficient. It improves hand-eye coordination. It improves cognition, and as things changed, the Common Core curriculum got set aside. I believe, again, it was in 2010. But since that time, there's been kind of a backlash on it. And now 24 states require instruction in cursive. When Senator Swedzinski and I first did this bill, I was primarily looking at reading it because I gave what I thought was, a really nice birthday card to my, he must have been 14 at the time, grandson. And it broke my heart. He handed it back to me and said, "Grandma, I can't read this." And I had to sit there and read to him what I had said to him and congratulating him on his birthday. That inspired me to look into why isn't cursive taught in Minnesota? And although 24 states now require both reading and writing, there are 6 or 7 other states that encourage local districts to do it at their own discretion. So children in the primary grades are beginning to be instructed once again across the country in in cursive writing. There are many, not many, there are a number of different ways in which to write cursive, and I would say that if you know how to write it, you can read it in almost any other cursive system that is used. I learned the Palmer method, which means that you have to practice it. You have to practice it just like you practice reading, just like you practice math. And I will say I did better in success in cursive than I ever did in math. And the cursive, the Palmer method has, you have your sheet of paper, it's lines, and you do things called push-pulls, and it's this kind of writing. And it gives strength to the hand rather than making use, as you do on the keyboard, of just your fingers. So you need to move your arm, have arm muscles involved in communicating. The other more common, or not more common, but the other common type is called Spencerian, but that is not the system that I used. And besides push-pulls, you practiced ovals, making ovals. And they all had to be at the half-line mark or below. And you had classes in it, and you had homework in it. My mother had a beautiful hand, is what we would say. And
all right, we are listening to Senator Ann Rest talking about cursive in classrooms. We will take a quick break. We're watching several live events here for you. We'll come on back and bring them to you.